Thank you, Tina, for joining us. I am excited to do this interview. You were part of our one women's retreat that had 8 moms that came, and is that 4 years ago now? It was 4 years ago now.
Yeah. Yep, it was 4 years this year.
Yeah, wow. I imagine a lot's changed for you in those 4 years. Um, I want to start off by, of course, acknowledging why you are here and why you're part of Ohana Oasis. So, do you want to share a little bit about your daughter?
I think we just hit the 24-year mark in January of losing her. Um, I had her in 97. She was born pretty early. She's lived for 3 weeks, and we had a lot of hope, and but things changed in those 3 weeks, and had some realizations that we were going to have a pretty sick kiddo, and had to make some hard decisions. Um, it's hard to believe it's been 24 years. I tell you, some days I wake up and it feels like it just happened yesterday. It is definitely, one of the questions you asked is like, what would I have told, what would I tell somebody, or, what would I wish somebody would have told
Mhm.
me? And I never imagined that 24 years would pass, and they're like, she's an everyday reminder to me of just the grace that is extended. I just can't even imagine. It's just, I wake up and I think about her every single day. Like, that's how I start
Mhm.
my day out. I have 3 children, and she is a bright, bright light in my life. It's just, yeah.
Amazing.
It brought me to you guys.
So, speaking of Ohana Oasis, how did you first hear about us?
Well, I was on Instagram, and I had become friends with somebody who was attending with her husband. I had been following her after the death of her daughter, and I was like, "Where is she?" And I'm following along, and I'm like, I'm asking questions, and I'm like, "What is this you're at?" And she told me while she was attending the retreat
Uh
that
huh.
was the one right before mine,
Uh huh.
and I hopped online and applied, and I knew it was a long shot. I just thought, I don't know if anything will come of this. It literally, that was October, and you reached out to me in January. The timing just was incredible, how it all fell into place. It was you doing this first retreat with all moms, and it was life changing. It just, after I came back, things shifted after Hawaii. I just really started to kind of dive in and spend more time in therapy. And I discovered after coming home that I wanted to live life. I wanted to do things and see things and experience things. And I was dying slowly, just sitting at home.
Yeah.
I have forever friends that were created from being a part of this. So I'm thankful for that.
Was
It was
it?
life changing. Yes.
How so?
I think I went through life just, yeah, I had a daughter, and, I talk about her, and, my family went on with their life, and nobody ever really acknowledged the different milestones. And so I just I felt alone in the fact that I was missing this human being that was so vital to my life. And so um I came there. It was a painful process being there. We did these groups, and we did these different activities, and I still felt alone. Like, everybody else was at different stages of their grief. I think I was probably the furthest out.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
yeah, and
Definitely.
so I kind of felt like, well, I always downplayed the fact that I only had 3 weeks with my child. So I didn't have, like, 4 years or 5 years or 15 years or 16 years. I didn't have these long extended, life experiences with Oop, you're frozen. Oh, there you are. With my kid. And so I was like, well, is my grief really valid? Is it is it crazy that I miss somebody that I don't have all of those memories with?
Mhm.
And I think that that came out one night sitting around the table, that it was like, hey, we all lost our children at different phases in life, but we all lost our children. And
Mhm.
we are all still moms who miss our kids. You
Mhm.
know, I missed the idea of what she could have been and what the future would have looked like with her. And all these other moms were experiencing, you know, their past and those little things that they did get to
Mhm.
experience. So I think that was a big turning point for me, is to just own that and say, hey, wait a second, you know, I lost a child too. And it's okay that she was only 3 weeks versus being 16. I still get
Mhm.
to grieve her. And so, and everybody just came together. I feel like we all kind of grew closer, and two women in particular that I will have friendships with the rest of my life, that I adore. And yeah, I'm very, it was a huge shift for me leaving, just being there and then leaving and feeling like, wow, I have a
So
lot of work to do.
do you feel like your shift happened while you were in Hawaii, or was it once you got home and started to process
It
everything?
happened. It happened before I left Hawaii.
Did
It
it?
was, there's I will say this over and over. There's something magical that happens in Kauai, whether it's on a retreat or whether it's just going there to deal with some things or be on vacation. There is something magical about that island, and I experienced it, and that shift started before I left. It took a little while. It didn't happen right away, um, but it definitely happened. And and then the work started after I got
Mhm.
home. You know, there was a lot of work to still be done, and I feel so eternally grateful for that time there. It did. It changed everything for me.
So what about it, or the motivation to do the work once you got home?
Connecting with other people and seeing what other people were going through, and how some of them had been stuck for a long time, and knowing that I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only one that um, experienced some of those same things. um, it pushed me to want to be better. It pushed me to want to be, um, to feel good again and to be happy. And I always found healing in reaching out to other parents who lost children. I always found a sense of just calm, being able to be a comfort to other people. But I feel like now I'm at a healthier place in my life, and I'm able to, um, you know, I'm able to be there in a much
Mhm.
bigger capacity for people who are going through the same thing, and offer some hope. Because I'll tell you, when you're in the midst of that beginning stages, it is, you don't see that, you don't
Right.
feel it. And I know some people do, and you know, everybody has a different way to hold on, whether it's through God or through some sort of spirituality. For me, it was God. For me, it was my faith, and it definitely brought me back around to that full circle.
Mhm.
And you know, I just keep holding on to that.
Do you have a favorite or fun activity or memory from your time over here?
Hands down, it was the ceremony. It was the leaf. Um, the When we went and picked those leaves in the
Mhm.
gardens, and then wrote our child's name on there and a word to describe them, and holding on to that, and then going in the ceremony where we released that into the
Mhm.
river, or that the waterway
Mhm.
that we were in. That was really huge for me. I don't remember her funeral much. I didn't say anything at her funeral. And for me, that was, I get a little tiny emotional about that. Um, that was that was just a way of being able to just have some closure. It really was a beautiful, beautiful moment, I think, for myself and all of the other women.
You're
I
gonna
look
make me
back,
tear up.
I know, I don't even know where that came from. That just like, I just remember I still have those pictures on my phone, and
Mhm.
every now and then the memories will pop up, and I'm like, that picture, there's something really powerful about all of us women on that boat. There was something very powerful about that. I felt like we all just kind of, we rode together. We became one as we were
Mhm.
kind of finding that inner peace. And it was a beautiful moment.
Is there anything like lesson or experience that's impacted you in your life in the long term? And that could be Ohana Oasis, or that can just be, I mean, it's been 24 years for you. So is there any?
Anything, how losing her impacted?
Yeah.
Um, well, having a daughter after losing a daughter, I think, I often say to myself, through the loss of her, um, I have my beautiful Sophia. I feel very strongly that I wouldn't have her, had I not experienced that loss.
Mhm.
And, I would give anything to have her back. But I know that, you know, things happen for a reason. And um, I don't like to think of her as being a sacrifice so that I have the child that I have now. But, it just, her life was meant to be here for that short amount of time. And I know that she impacted several lives in her short life. And I never thought that I would have more children. And, I often look at Sophia, and I feel like she's a gift. She was a gift.
Mhm.
For it was almost, when I found out I was having another child and I was having a girl, I was like, I felt like God said, I trusted you with Haley, and you knew when it was time to let her go, and this is my gift back to you for that.
What's been the most surprising thing to you over the 24 years?
Um, how fresh it still is. How her memory continues. I used to think in the beginning, every day that went by, I was further away from her, and then I had to shift to every day that goes by, I'm closer to her. And I'm not she's still very fresh. I'm very surprised at how a smell, how little things will trigger a memory or bring that back like it was just happened. So that's surprising to me.
So when you talk about it being fresh, is the pain still as fresh, or is it the memories that are
No,
as
it's the
fresh?
memories. Yes. And sure, the pain will bubble up, like the loss part of it, but I don't feel sad. Like, I don't feel like oh man, my daughter died. I don't feel sad. I don't know
Mhm.
how to really explain. Like, I feel really fortunate and blessed that I had that human in my life.
Right.
Like, I got to be her mom. As short as it may have been, I got to be her mom. And so nobody else got to experience that. And so it doesn't it doesn't bring me sorrow, it brings me comfort that I still have that.
What was the biggest ongoing struggle? And it may have, I'd be curious to hear, since you are 24 years, um, what the biggest ongoing struggle was early on, or if you have any now, or kind of how that's evolved over the
Other
years.
other people not remembering, that's tough.
Yeah.
Like a birthday, the day she passed, um, that's huge for me. The acknowledgement. And I want people to talk about her. I want my sister to remember. I want my aunt to remember. My mom hasn't breathed her name since the day she passed away. That
Wow.
that's that's tough. That's tough. But I had to let go of that and know that it's not intentional to hurt me. It's just that's just human nature. People push that stuff aside and they move
Right.
on, and they don't know how to, they feel like they shouldn't say anything or they shouldn't bring it up. I mean, I always catch people off guard when I say that I have a daughter that passed away, and people almost like, it's almost like they wither up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." No, no, don't. I don't need you to be sorry. It's okay. I like talking about her. I want to
Mhm.
share who she was.
How can people support um, others, and especially when you're talking about so far out, the fact that you had a daughter doesn't disappear. So how can people still support you even 24 years later? Not when you're in your acute grief, but just in that
Just
acknowledgement.
remembering, just acknowledging, or saying, "Hey, sometimes I have a friend that will just, I have in my calendar all of my friends. I have a lot of people in my women in my life who've lost children at different phases, and that's on my calendar. Those dates are in my calendar.
Hmm.
Um, I Whether it's a text, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." You don't even have to have a dialogue with somebody. You don't have to call them and have a long drag out conversation. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be somber. It is a quick text. "I just want you to know that I know that Allie's birthday's coming up," or "I just want you to know I'm thinking about you today." It's amazing how just those words go, "Wow, thank you. That means
Yeah.
a lot."
Yeah.
Um, so it really isn't, it's not about knowing what to say or how to say it. It's just be there. Just let that person know that I know that this is a tough time of year for you. I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. And to hear that you still appreciate that after 24 years, it's not like you're bringing up something that you'd rather forget. Like you still want
Of
acknowledgement.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a form of validation to
Hmm.
say, "Hey, this person was very much a part of my life and alive." And the same goes with not just our children, but I have friends who've lost husbands, or they've lost just somebody very close to them, and just a quick little, "Hey, I'm thinking about you today."
Yeah.
And it's amazing how just those few little words go so far. My sister is really pretty good about, see, I acknowledge it. So, when I post something on social media about remembering her, I mean, even her own dad, I'm in a relationship with him. I love him. He doesn't know what to say because he didn't have a relationship with her. I mean,
Hmm.
he didn't get to be in the hospital with her because we weren't together at the time. So his connection with her isn't the same as mine. So I had to
Right.
stop the expectation that he's supposed to be grieving or he's supposed to be feeling the same things that I'm feeling, when there's no possible way anybody's going to feel the way I feel.
Right.
So I kind of had to let him off the hook a little bit, and not, he just will say to me, what are you doing for yourself today? What are you
Hmm.
doing for yourself? And just the fact that he makes some small effort because he doesn't know what to say.
Right.
So, um, but in the back of my head, I'm like, I want him, he's my connection to her.
Uh-huh.
And so I want him to, like, I don't know. I don't know. There's a level of expectation there that I have to keep lowering. Like, it's okay. It's okay that he's not, like, doing the same thing that I'm doing. So,
Right. Yeah. And I think that that is a very familiar dynamic in a lot of relationships with parents, because
yeah,
everybody's different. Everybody grieves differently
sure.
and has,
Sure. And just
like you
on
said, different relationship with the child. So.
Yeah. So last few years ago, I did a photo shoot with my daughter, Sophia,
Hmm.
and I wanted to incorporate my other daughter. And so we brought a picture of her. And I think I sent it to you. I'm not sure, but the photographer focused on the picture of Haley, and then in the background it was me and Sophia hugging, and there
Hmm.
was this stuffed animal that Haley had in the hospital that Sophia sleeps with every single night.
Mm.
And that picture just, I don't know, it's just, I felt like it all came full circle with, there was a healing that came with that
Hmm.
because I finally had you know, it was kind of honoring my first daughter and the three of us being together the best way we could. So, yeah.
That's neat. That kind of answers one of the questions, but you can say if there's anything else. How do you continue to honor Haley and integrate her into your present life?
Um, well, every time I visit a beach, I write her name in the sand and I take a picture of it. I have her picture over on a table. I don't like have a shrine of her, but I have things throughout the house that remind me of her. Um, every time I buy something with my kids' names on it, I always buy something with all of my kids.
Hmm.
Just little things that just kind of stand out. And then when we come around to a birthday, I used to let balloons off, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm kind of putting this out into the environment. I probably should find something a little bit more environmentally friendly. So, when I got to 24 years, I'm like, I probably should let 24 balloons off this year. So this year we've just passed a birthday, and next year we're planting a tree because I'm staying put here for a while.
Hmm.
So I always buy something or do something special. And then of course, Sophia loves to honor her sister, even though she didn't get to know her and didn't get to be a part of her life. She's very much alive in her. And so she talks about her a lot. And I think that's because I've been open with her. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, lesson have I learned?
Yeah.
That there's no guarantees, and just to live every day the best you can and love the people closest to you. But there's no guarantees. And so I've learned how to let go of little stuff and not spend any time wasted on stuff that is just not relevant. Just to grab on and love hard and live pure and with joy in my heart. It was a lot of work, but I got there.
What advice would you give to a grieving parent?
Be gentle on yourself. Allow yourself time. There's no don't let people put expectations on how long you can grieve, and there's no hurry. Just take your time and be gentle, and just, yeah, don't let people put pressure on you to hurry up. There's no time limit. It
Yeah.
it it's in your own time. I
Good
think we
one.
never fully stop grieving.
Oh, looking at support, is there anybody that did it right?
Anybody who did it right. I didn't have, I think that's where I I struggle the most is I didn't have really good support.
Hmm.
Um, I think my support happened right when she passed away. I had family there, and then everybody just kind of went their separate ways and went back to life. And because I was a single mom and I was raising a child, I didn't have an option but to pull myself back up and just push through. And so I kind of feel like I navigated that by myself
Hmm.
and didn't have the support that I needed. I see other parents going through, I follow a bunch of blogs and a bunch of people that are experiencing this fresh right now. And I'm so thankful for them that they have their spouses or their significant others, their family that is really tuned in. Um, there's no right way to experience loss, but there's in
Harder
a short,
ways.
yeah, that's for sure. I just wish that I had more support. I do. I attended some support groups, but yeah, there really wasn't any one in particular. I mean, it just it's just that's how it worked out for me.
Yeah. What's one thing that you would like to share with parents that have not lost a child or anybody that hasn't lost a child about losing a child?
Oh gosh, I hate for anybody to even have to think about it. Like the idea, had somebody told me pre losing a child that this is what this is like, I'd be like, I mean, even now, I think, and I don't know if this is every parent that's lost a child and then they have more kids. I've thought about what would I do if something happened to my oldest, you know, like
Mhm.
I get caught in my thoughts sometimes, like, oh my gosh, my oldest is 30, gonna be 32. And I think, oh my gosh, what if something happened to him when he was driving across country? Or what if something, how would I do? What would I do? And all of those scenarios have played out in my head. What if something happened to Sophia? And how would I go on with my life? Or how would I, and even though I've experienced it, I don't know how I would get through it. So I don't even know. I don't even know. Just I don't even know what. I don't have an answer for that. I think it's a great idea to do them on the mainland. I think
Yeah.
that that would be. I do. I think that a different location and changing it up, and there's so many beautiful spiritual places that are just offer healing, that I
Mhm.
think that that would be an amazing experience for people. I think more than anything, the most important part of it, of course, Kauai was life changing for me, but I think it's the coming together and the really leaning in and acknowledging and honoring your child. And and there's healing that comes with that, whether
Mhm.
it's you're by yourself or you're with your partner. It's just finding that inner peace through that experience. So wherever you do it, it's going to be fantastic for whoever has the opportunity to come and meet you and share those experiences. So I definitely think that you'll that would be great for you to find your way to different
Different
locations.
place.
There's something that happens when people come together and work as a team and lean in. It's That's at the end of the day, that's really what, I always joke about yoga, by the way. I am not good at shutting my brain off. And so I was joking with Linda recently, and I said, do you remember the time we were on the lawn for yoga? And I look over and you're crying, and all I could think was, this is my way out. This is my way out of yoga today. And I was like, oh my gosh, come on, we need to go for a walk. And we ended up going and leaving yoga, and we walked the grounds, and we had this incredible moment of crying and bonding and just talking about our children. And at the end of the day, it was just, we were like, yoga was forcing us to actually be with our feelings. And we did not want to feel that. And so I didn't realize that till after. I just kept saying, I don't like yoga. I just don't like yoga. And I think it's because I'm forced to actually have to feel and shut my brain off. And when I do that, it's not pretty. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's just,
there was a method to the madness and everything that
I,
goes into
I
retraining.
know there was. I didn't want to own it then. I was just like, I don't like
Yeah.
this stuff. Well, I have all of my activities and my books and all of those things that I look back on and I read through, and
Really?
it yeah, oh yeah, it's right inside my room, right next to my bed. And occasionally I'll just pick up my notebook and I'll go through and see the different things that I copied and pasted in the projects that we did. I have all of those things because those matter to me. Those are now part of her story. And
Wow.
so those will be passed on to my other children. I hope that they will someday, when I'm no longer here, will look back and go, wow, this is what mom did. This is how mom honored our sister. And so, yes, that it does. It has
Oh,
a lot of meaning to me.
that's neat to hear.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's impactful what you do.
Well, thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And thank you for being part of the first women's retreat.
Yeah, no, thanks. That was amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys definitely I was worried because you didn't have significant others to go adventure with and all of that. And so trying to figure out how to make it a very comfortable, safe space where you guys could still adventure. And you guys definitely did and took advantage of that. So
And I think
really
we all
for
kind of
that.
found our person too.
Yeah.
We gravitated towards people that we connected with.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of strong personalities in that group, but I
Yeah, there
think we
were.
all we all did really well. Outside of doing cannonballs in the backyard. That's my ongoing nickname. So Linda and Ashley call me Cannonball.
Uh-huh.
And so, and we have a little group text, and we text back and forth, and we, send our, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months can go by and we can shoot a text. I'm thinking about you today. Hey, I miss you. Those things just, there's always a connection there. So I'm
That's
thankful for
awesome.
that. So
Yay.
thank you so much.